Energy that is inexhaustible and harmonizing with the nature. Energy we leave for the future generations. Its sources and generating technologies are coming up in the program Future Energy.
Experts know that the scale of implementation of renewable energy in the last 30 years was doubling every 2 years. Some futurists believe that just 6 cases of doubling, or 12 years, are needed so that the energy demands of humanity would be fully fulfilled by renewable energy sources. And in less than 20 years, accessible high-power generating stations will provide more energy than the world needs. Whether this is true, time will show. Hello, my name is Dmitry Golobir, and you're watching Future Energy. Kazakhstan is considered to be a country that has the most favorable conditions for the development of renewable energy sources. If we think about the theoretical capacities that can be generated in the country using the main renewable sources, then we get the following picture. Annually, by harnessing wind power, it would be possible to generate 1,820 billion kilowatt-hours, hydropower 30 billion, and solar 2.5 billion kilowatt-hours. In order to provide a substantial volume of green energy, in practice it is enough for the country to reach just a small share of these volumes. Kazakhstan's authorities understand this. That is why great attention is devoted to the implementation of green technologies. The talk of green energy being the only right path of human development has been ongoing for a long time. However, it got a real impetus only after the crisis of 2008. That was when many countries of the world, for the first time in the history of discussions of environmental issues, came out with the idea that green energy can provide a second wind to the global economy, which was in a state of a knockout.
Green New Deal was officially adopted in April 2009. Only 6 months later. So it was officially adopted in G20. So this evolution of the perception that green or climate change or renewable energy or green energy can be a driver of economic growth is spreading out.
According to the results of 2014, investments into renewable energy all across the globe exceeded $270 billion. Based on the forecast of the International Energy Agency, energy generated from renewable resources by 2030 will reach a substantial share in the global energy market and will amount to more than 30%. By that time, $400 billion will have been invested. In order not to get left behind the green revolution, Kazakhstan is making serious efforts in this direction.
Kazakhstan government at that time, 6 years ago, volunteered to initiate Green Bridge Initiative, which is linking Europe and Asia Pacific through green technology.
In 2009, the country adopted a law on supporting renewable energy sources, after introduction of amendments which included a mechanism of fixed tariffs, a mechanism of targeted aid, and mechanism for supporting the end consumers. Targeted aid is aimed at the development of renewable energy sources. Therefore, this includes plans of developing renewable energy sources in rural areas, for farming businesses, and so on. Today, the country has 50 stations that use renewable energy sources with a total power capacity of 288 megawatts of electric energy. What's more, year in and year out, their generation capacity is rising. According to the results of this year's 9 months, the volume of energy generated is 712 million kilowatt-hours. This is higher than the annual output of 2015. The expected share of energy generated from renewable energy sources from the total volume of energy produced, I think, is around 0.9%. And by 2020, it is planned to get this share to reach 3%. Mostly these stations are located in the southern regions where there is a lot of sunlight. And in the northern region, there is high potential for harnessing wind energy. That is why that is where the wind power stations are. One of the biggest is the Yerentau wind power station, with a power generation capacity of 45 megawatts. It is located in the Akhmala region. And the biggest solar power station, 50 megawatts power generation capacity, is located in the Jambul region, Burnoye. By the way, green technologies are being developed in the country not just with the use of renewable energy sources. Local machine building is also not lagging behind the trend of green energy. The first electric cars are already being tested in Kazakhstan. There are plans for the creation of the necessary infrastructure. Plans for the development of the project on the infrastructure of charging stations in Almaty and Astana. And during the first stage, also along the major highways in the regions of these cities. The International Expo 2017 exhibition, Future Energy, which will be held in Astana, will undoubtedly make a great contribution to the development of green energy. Overall, international experts are giving a positive assessment to Kazakhstan's potential in the sphere of green technologies. And note that the high benchmark that was set by the country for itself is actively stimulating the development of green energy. Coming up next, solar energy in every household. Kazakhstan produced solar power stations. But coming right up, new technologies, new competencies. Preparation of technical specialists in Kazakhstan. Scientific research proves that energy generation that is 100% based on renewable energy sources is possible and economically efficient. Of course, this transition will take some time to happen, but progress is obvious, and the experience of leading countries attests to this. For example, Germany is planning to have 60% of its energy from renewable resources by 2030. Kazakhstan is planning to have its share reach 50% by 2050. In order to achieve these aims, a lot of work must be done. This concerns not just highly qualified engineers, but also mid-level specialists who can think and work in a new way. At the College of Energy and Electronic Technologies in Almaty, the manufacturing of solar batteries is part of the educational program. This includes theoretical knowledge and practical sessions. During these sessions, students learn how to assemble and set up solar panels on their own. I think solar panels are our future. Kazakhstan has quite a large territory. Why not set up these solar panels? The ready photocells and plates of silicone are purchased abroad, and here in the assembly department, they are attached to each other with the use of metal strips, which act as conductors. If they're connected in parallel, there will be more of a current. If they're connected successively, then they will generate a lower voltage. Therefore, depending on the necessary requirements, they're either set up in parallel or sequentially, or a combination of both. The glass, laminated film, photocells, second layer laminated film, and protective material. This is the order in which the components of the solar battery are sent into the vacuum furnace. It is important to remember that the silicone plates can only be attached in gloves, and even the smallest contamination lowers the energy efficiency of the battery. Solar panels need to be protected from dust and moisture. They get damaged from humidity, and then all the elements as such melt together. The final mini solar station can become a real lifesaver for distant locations where there are no power lines. However, solar energy still has a substantial shortcoming, which impedes it from being implemented in wide practice. The manufacturing of solar panels is quite a costly endeavor. It requires great material expenses, and the most important is that, according to specialists from Japan, the payback period is 10 years. That is why, simultaneously with the development of renewable energy sources, there is the development of energy-saving technologies. For example, diode lamps. The students of the college also learn about these working principles and learn to assemble them. In almost all the halls and all the faculty buildings, we have light diode lamps that we produced ourselves. If we compare them with, let's say, luminescent lamps, then the cut in expenses is almost twofold. In addition, light diode lamps are much brighter. A 20-watt lamp emits a light flow of 250 lumens. A diode lamp of the same capacity, 1,700 lumens. In addition, they're longer lasting. This lamp can serve for a couple of years, whereas the service life of regular lamps is just a couple of months. Along the perimeter, 4 strips are connected to each other. connected in parallel and with 90 light-emitting diodes in each lamp, multiplying by 4, 360 small light-emitting diodes.
Умножаем на 4, 360 светодиодных маленьких светодиодов.
When consumers see the advantages, they will be ready to use modern technologies. Technologies which change the way of our livelihood and time, and demand new skills from technical specialists. Coming up next, solar energy in every household. Kazakhstan-produced solar power stations. Kazakhstan has a high insolation potential. This is a measure of the extent to which the Earth's land is exposed to sunlight. Annually, there is 1,800 kilowatt-hours per square meter of the country's territory. And this is just a measure of generated electricity. We should not forget that sunlight is first and foremost heat energy. Direct generation of heat from sunlight is faster, simpler, and more efficient. Today, this form of energy generation is being used more often by average consumers for providing for basic household needs. The use of solar collectors allows them to do this. And today, their production is also based in the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana. A solar collector is a device which transforms sunlight into heat energy. It is used for providing hot water and heating for houses. The heating of water with the use of flat solar collectors is a very simple and the cheapest method of using solar energy. Because not just the visible spectrum of the sunlight, but also the invisible infrared radiation are transformed into heat. Because of this, the solar collectors are more efficient than solar panels. The energy efficiency coefficient of solar collectors is higher than of electric panels. If the electric panels are capable of reaching an energy efficiency coefficient of 16%, the solar collectors more than 50%. In Kazakhstan, one of the companies in Astana is engaged in the production of solar collectors. The production capacities of this enterprise is 8 units per day. The solar collectors are assembled following Western technology. However, in comparison with European analogs, Kazakhstan's devices are much cheaper. And it was possible to achieve this by using locally produced materials in the production process.
Гелиоколлектор состоит из 8 материалов. 5 материалов из них производятся.
A solar collector is made out of 8 types of materials. 5 of them are produced in Kazakhstan. These are ultra-durable glass, mineral insulator, rubber gasket, and the frame body. Such minerals like absorber and coil are imported from abroad.
Приводятся из-за границы.
The design of the collectors is quite simple. A flat panel of a rectangular shape comprised of a number of layers. The main element is the absorber, a special surface with a high degree of heat absorption. Above it, there is a transparent layer which lets sun rays pass and creates a greenhouse effect.
На поверхности расположено сверхпрочное стекло, которое позволяет блокировать солнечную энергию.
On the surface, there is glass, which allows to block the solar energy which is delivered to the anode profile. The glass also prevents the adverse radiation of heat into the surrounding environment. That is why the absorbers absorb the solar energy as much as possible, and the heat transfer agent, which circulates along those small pipes, exits the collector. Then, through a pump, it gets to the heat exchange container and heats up the water for consumption.
Дальше поступает через насос в бак теплообменник и нагревает горячую воду для потребителей.
The greenhouse effect allows to reach the highest level of energy extraction that is possible. On a sunny day, the non-toxic antifreeze, which circulates in the absorber, propylene glycol, can heat up to over 130 degrees. A whole system can be created out of 4 to 5 such solar collectors.
В одной солнечной системе присутствует
One solar collector system includes from 1 to a number of solar collectors, depending on the level of consumption and livelihood. Approximately one panel heats up to 100 liters of water per day. If we compare it with an electric panel, then this is 1,400 watts.
Если мы хотим сравнить с электрической панелью, то это 1400 ватт.
In the near future, the company's management is planning to increase the share of local content in their products and to substitute the expensive imported absorber with a locally produced model. Thanks to this, the price of Kazakhstan's solar collectors will be even lower, and that means more accessible for average consumers. In the end, it is precisely the cost-saving advantage which is a determining factor on which the wide implementation of such devices into practice depends. You are watching Future Energy. We hope that we were able to charge you with this positive atmosphere and moods. All the best, and until next time.